Igor Shesterkin has already rejected an $11 million per year contract, according to Kevin Weeks.
Well,
so the Rangers offered him $88 million over 8 years. That's $11 million a season. And that's a lot of money. We know that he wants to reset the goalie market. That would make him the highest paid goalie ever.
Yes, it would.
At $11 million.
Yep.
And he's saying, no, more. I want more. I want more. And I think I'm wondering about this because, Alan talked about it a little bit in our last podcast. And he said, the goaltender market has been artificially reduced because even pre-cap, because Marty Brodeur was like, yeah, I'll just make $5-6 million. And goalies would be like, yeah, I'd like to make more. They're like, and teams would be like, well, you're not making more than Brodeur.
You want more than Brodeur?
You're out of your mind. Yeah. So, and then obviously the salary cap came in and it was $40 million or whatever it was.
I wonder if there's a day many years in the future where we look at the goalie position, like you look at the quarterback position in the NFL or like the starting pitcher position in baseball, where that guy makes the most money because he's the most important person. And if you have a great goaltender, it changes your entire team and he's on the ice for the whole game.
That's right.
Yes.
He's the only position that plays the entire game in more minutes than anybody else in the majority of the game. So I don't know. Maybe we should rethink how we pay goaltenders.
I think we should, because what does Jeff Merrick always say?
If you have a good goalie, it's 70% of the game. If you have a bad goalie, it's 100.
Doesn't he also say hockey should just be called goalie?
Yes.
Yeah, and it is kind of odd. Sometimes we all get into a way of thinking, and it becomes tunnel vision, and you go, and one person goes, and then it takes like 5-6 years for everybody to come around. First, they say that person's crazy, and then after 5 years, you're like, wow, man, they might have had a point. And so any team with Igor Shesterkin making whatever he's going to make, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $11 to $12 million, considering that 11 was rejected. So it's going to be above 11. When you look at that number, for what this guy brings, perennial Vezina guy, I can understand, in the Leaf situation, you got two guys that are unproven. You're not going to pay a lot of money for that. Perennial Vezina for the last half decade.
Swayman just got 8.25, and he hasn't been a starter for a full season yet.
Yeah. So
I mean, Jesper Wallstedt got $2.2 million yesterday. You know how many NHL games he's played?
How many?
3.
Jeremy Swayman has started 125 games total. I'm just looking up Igor's stats just for that. And Igor has started 208. But I'll tell you this. The numbers are sparkling. They're crazy. And the last 3 years, he's up over 50 games each year.
2 appearances in the conference final.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
I think the one thing that happened in the most recent memory is Sergei Bobrovsky, who the stat everybody loves to yell at Leafs fans when somebody hosts the Stanley Cup is that
67.
nobody ever
Game 7.
Nobody ever with
It
a
was
double
3-1.
nobody
It was 4-1.
Steve, let him.
nobody ever with a double-digit player on the roster has ever hosted the Stanley Cup. Then it happened with Jack Eichel in Vegas when they did it. And then this past season, we saw the first team ever with a double-digit goaltender host the Stanley Cup. And you think about how important Bobrovsky was to that entire playoff run and how it didn't matter that over the last few years, he's lost his job and then got it back and then lost it and then got it back a few different times. When push came to shove during the playoffs, it was the most important thing to have Bobrovsky, and they still managed to build a team around him. It wasn't like he hamstrung their salary cap and they couldn't do anything else. They still built a Stanley Cup winning team. So
Also, I mean, Kucherov and Vasilevsky winning back-to-back cups, 9.5 each.
Yeah, but just if you're putting a bar on the actual double-digit number, you gotta cut it off somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
If you just keep scaling back the number, then you just get to any number.
Yeah.
So that's why
You know what?
I put the
League
bar
min.
there.
You know what?
But
How many career games?
is a great example as well.
To Jesse's point about not rounding up, how many career games does Mike Modano have?
1,499.
Not 1,500, right? And I think, and to that point,
Vasilevsky adds to the argument. Thank you. Yeah.
agreed. And I think obviously the Rangers are about to go through a mega shift, and this is kind of what I love about this is a confluence of events that work so much in Igor's favor. You're talking about UFA, you're talking about crazy numbers, you're talking about double conference final appearances in the last 3 years, but also you're talking about, and Jesse mentioned this in the season preview, this is a last dance sort of team. After this year, you're going to have a lot of change in New York.
They're going to be fine.
They're going to be fine
going forward, but they do have to change.
And the one thing that can be the sure thing that you can absolutely build around, you've got some great young RFAs, and I get that. Nobody is on Igor's level. And if you could solidify that position, everything else can kind of fall into place afterwards.
He has a lot of leverage here. I mean, Jesse, you have them winning the Metro?
No, I have New Jersey winning the Metro.
But like first or second.
First or second, yeah.
They're coming off a President's Trophy win. They went to the conference final. We could easily see them at least back there.
I picked them to win the Stanley Cup.
Like, put it this way. His number's not going down. Like, you offered me $88 million in October? All right. Okay, we'll be back. We'll let you know what we think.
The follow-up to Kevin Weeks' report that he turned down the 8 years by $11 million was from Cam Robinson, who said that Igor wanted less years, and that might have been the sticking point on the contract, not the $11 million, and that he wanted more. It might be that he wants 11 by 5.
Because he's
smart. And the
smart.
Rangers want him for the 8 years, and he wants 11 by 5.
If he wants 11 by 5, you sign that before he realizes how dumb that is.
Well, because goaltending it's a tricky position.
He's going to be, how old is Igor Shesterkin?
He is right now 28.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you sign an 8-year deal if you're 28. If you're 25 and you're Swayman, it's funny that Shesterkin wants the shorter deal. Swayman wanted the longer one. If I were them and I was looking at it just for me and not being an athlete or whatever, never being in that position, I would switch it around.
I think
if I'm Swayman,
you sign 5 and take your chances as the Rangers.
Well, I think absolutely you do. With Shesterkin, though, I look at that and I go, why do you not want the 8 years? It's likely because he knows that over the next 5 years, the cap is probably going to go up about $20 million, and he could be leaving $10 or $15 million on the table. However, if for whatever reason, injury, anything else can happen, especially into your early 30s, slow down in performance, it may not even end up mattering. And I can understand why New York wants the full 8 years, because they want some cost certainty there as well. You have, it's cost certainty, it's expensive, but at the end of the day, I think it benefits both sides to go 8 years here. Whereas Swayman, I would have been like, do 3 or 4.
Goalies?
Here's the tweet from Cam Robinson, just so we get it out there. Piggybacking on Kevin Weeks' post on Shesterkin, I was told recently that Igor may be more keen on a shorter-term deal, 5 years, ? If New York wants 8 years, they have to seriously break the bank.
Oh, man. Because that's going to be, like, let's say the number's 13, right? So he's got to
for the 8 years.
8.
Oh my god.
Well, if it's 11 for 5,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, so let's arbitrarily throw 13 out. Boy, he's gonna be 36 or whatever. I think, 36.
Yep,
making 13 mil.
There's ways to get around that.
You're a groin injury or a knee injury away. Like, look at them.
Then it doesn't cost you anything.
It's the Rangers' money.
Carey Price is just sitting around.
No, but there are players who find themselves in the not injured enough category where they're just sort of bad.
Right.
They're playing, they're just not what they used to be.
I think that's 8 years from now's problem. Like, what if we get a Stanley Cup? What if we get one in that window?
Yeah.
I don't care.
I mean, listen, you lock this guy up. You 100% lock him up. But I think if he wants 5, you give him 5. You don't worry about the 8.
And if you look at it too, you don't worry about that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And if it costs a disgusting amount to go to 8 years, then just don't do it. But I would say he's doing the Rangers a favor by going 5 years. I really do. I think so. And I look at
window is going to be at least 5 years.
And I don't know. I actually don't know what next summer looks like for New York. Does that mean? It doesn't mean they're not going to be good. I have to look at their prospect pipeline, which I don't have in front of me, and that sort of thing. But I would say that there are some potential big veteran pieces moving on here. And, when you look at, oh my God, Shesterkin at $11 million, that would be crazy. Listen, he's going to be the only guy making that. And what's going to be easy for the Rangers is filling out the rest of the roster. Problem with Toronto, right, to bring it back to us, it always does, is now we've got 4 guys making over 11.
It's too much.
And so that's where you find some roster issues, and you have to sign, Tanev to a much longer term than you perhaps wanted to keep the AAV down. You lose out on a guy like Matt Roy,
Careful.
Matt Roy, who if you'd been able to kick in another $250,000, you probably would have had.
We're getting into how does this affect the Leafs territory?
But I'm giving the best comparable that I can, which is teams with over $11 million on the book. The only other teams that have that are it's Colorado. And
wait, with what?
Who's got more than $11 million wrapped up in a player?
Oh, in one player? Yeah, Colorado. Edmonton has 2.
Yeah.
Or no, they don't have 2.
They don't, because Leon does
2.
Yeah.
It's not a very long.
It's not huge, right?
No.
And so I don't know. I look at this and go, okay, if you're the Rangers, just take the 5 years, get it signed, happy dance, go into the school.
And you're the Rangers.
And he's also still making $5 million this year.
Yeah,
or 5.5.
Which is stupid. That's a crazy deal. But you're the Rangers. You're always gonna. You don't have to worry as much as some other teams in this league about attracting free agents, and you're definitely not going to have to worry about the cap space to do it.
Yep.
Panarin is going to age out of his deal, and that frees up $11.6 million.
Mm-hmm. Of which I think he's been pretty good on that contract.
Yeah, his playoffs have been come see, come saw, but they're going to have to turn over the core. If they're lucky, they'll be able to do something like what Dallas has done, where they had Pavelski for a while. He obviously just retired. Sagan, Ben, those were their big money core guys, and now they've been replaced by Hintz and Robertson, and
you're expecting the next generation.
There's another wave.
Wyatt,
they have 3 generations. Well, as athletes go. Of guys, and they're all still there.
Yeah.
It's not like they've left except for Pavelski. So I think that's what the Rangers, if everything goes well, could expect.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a Jake Trouba trade this out. I think
there's
too.
Another one. Yeah.
The fact that this is out there tells me that they're talking a lot.
I think it gets done.
I think it gets
done pretty.
And I think it needs to get done before trade deadline, because if you're the Rangers, you need to know. I think you need to know how for it are we going to be, and how much is next year going to cost, and if we are acquiring somebody, what's it going to cost to keep them? What's the acquisition cost? Right?
I wouldn't be overly shocked if we wake up tomorrow morning and there's a deal.
Well, but actually, you know what?
Precedent with Swayman. Oh, this is going to go to December 1st. Oh, which means it's happening in 2 days.
To be honest, I think it'll happen as soon as Jesse drops the show this afternoon.
Oh, shoot.
Do you think it's... No, that's way too quick. That's way too quick.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes.
Hi, welcome to Greta. We have breaking news.
You guys want the most fun stat out of all of this, since we're talking about Rangers goaltending?
I know you love this.
Since 2005, the 2005-2006 season, either Igor Shesterkin or Henrik Lundqvist has started at least 30 games for the New York Rangers.
I hate it.
Go away.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay. What? Since when?
2005-2006. I shouldn't say started, played. Either at least 30 games for the New York Rangers.
So every season since Ovechkin and Crosby joined the NHL, the Rangers have had
perennial
a top 5 goalie of their generation in their lineup.
In their lineup for at least 30 games.
How they ever missed the playoffs in that time is shocking. They did have some shocking.
Remember the letter?
Oh, I remember the letter.
The letter was a big deal on this show when it came out about how they're going to rebuild, and they did it super quick.
They've been on a bunch of runs. They haven't gotten it done, but they've been on a bunch of runs. It's not for lack of trying.